Begin by electing a board secretary. If you have spoken with someone about this, you can put that person.
That's your script. That's why it's in italics. You don't read that.
I don't read what. Oh, we will begin.
Yeah.
Okay, just fantastic. Sorry about that. Working from script, so. Thank you. And
Public comment before election board secretary.
No, it's not election. That's there first so that there's a secretary before we get into the anything minutes.
you're fine.
That's
Okay. If you've already spoken with someone about this, you can put that person forward now.
that was for you. That was my note to you.
Okay. Oh, no, I have not. Okay. Has anybody spoken with anybody about?
So it would be
board secretary?
nominations from the floor.
Fantastic. Otherwise, we will accept nominations.
Will self-nominate. I would be happy to serve as board secretary.
I would second that because I was turning on my comments to make sure.
Oh, well, thank you, Andre. Should have just moved to you.
Are there any other nominations? I guess by a unanimous decision, is there anyone who says nay?
So you probably just want to call the question. All in favor of electing Michelle?
All in favor of electing Michelle Payne, Secretary of the Dumplings Public Library Board of Trustees, please respond by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you for agreeing to serve. Fantastic. Moving on to public comment, I would now like to give members of the public who signed up to speak the opportunity to speak. We will limit this portion of the meeting to 30 minutes to enable us to move to the business in a timely manner. There are 12 people signed up to speak today. So in order for us to get them all done in 30 minutes, each speaker will have 2 minutes and 20 seconds. We will ensure that everybody has the opportunity to speak. Okay. Because our meeting is held in the public, we're requiring the highest and best decorum from all attendees. Our meetings will be a safe space where people can share their thoughts and ideas with the board. Absolutely no comments, applause, signs, or outbursts from the gallery of attendees will be allowed during the public comment. This is based on many of the emails that the board has received. Okay, I will tell you who's first and then who's on deck. Let's see. Nancy Coughlin, and on deck is Naomi Cowlett. 1 second. Do you want to wind it down to two minutes?
It has a 3-minute and a 1-minute option, so I will call.
You want to do it from your phone, or is that?
We'll just show this and then call it when there's 40 seconds left.
Okay, fantastic. I just don't want us to be rude or interrupted.
I am a retired librarian. I have found the changes in the collection policy alarming, especially the lack of respect for the librarian's knowledge and how books are selected. I'm curious as to how much research the board did before making their selection policy decisions and how big of library users they were before they being appointed to the board. I've been a reader and library user my entire life. What I learned from my mother, you need information or answers, go to the library. That and that knowledge is power. I would hope that all patrons of HEPL would have the same opportunity without having to do a scavenger hunt to find certain materials. The concern that certain groups have for books that contain something related to sex and how, according to them, it will predictably sexualize children astounds me. I grew up in a Christian household. In the 6th grade, we had a talk at my public school. I was provided no further information at home before or after. My freshman year of high school, the book, Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask, was published. A boy in my English class asked if I wanted to read it. I read it and returned it to him. I was exposed to a lot of information in that book, was probably surprised by it. It did not change my behavior or who I was. I was still a shy, conservative teenager whose values did not change. Thank goodness I had access to some information. Teens need to learn about their bodies, what sex is, dating relationships, etc., just as they learn about history, math, how to cook, etc., so they're prepped to cope with what is unfortunately a sexualized world. such as when you are attending a Christian school and one of your teachers or coaches is grooming you. I agree that some titles for teens are more graphic than years ago, but children today are used to receiving information in a much different way than any adult in this room when they were the same age. Now there is the internet, websites, blogs, Instagram, ads on TV, cable streaming, TikTok, cell phones, etc. I would be more worried for teens. I would be more worried about their access to that than what they find in books.
Thank you so much for your comments. Sure. Naomi Cowling and Mary Jensen is next.
Did you say 2 minutes, 20?
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay, let me turn it on.
Everybody here, okay? Sometimes you have to get closer to the microphone.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Callie. I'm a mother, a trained educator, a Noblesville resident. Many, including myself, have stood here in front of this board and made case that literature intended to sexualize and indoctrinate children of all ages is being made available in the HEPL libraries. Therefore, providing the literature, this literature, children are being harmed. Today, I continue to urge the board to take a stand to protect children by considering the following questions, addressing additional areas of child safety in the HEPL libraries. Are the libraries safe for children? Are library policies regarding the safety of children lax? If so, is it intentional? Are current policies and procedures regarding children being enforced? If not, is this part of the library's culture among staff members? Are children under the age of 12 that are alone in the library approached by staff to inquire as to where their parents are? Are children able to roam freely in the adult section? Can a child check out any book from the adult section at the kiosk with no alerts to staff? Why aren't children required to check out books with the library staff as an extra layer of safety? Why are there no checks on adults without children entering the children's section? How can the library better protect children from child predators? Are you aware of any police reports or crimes being perpetrated against children in the HEPL libraries? If the answer is yes, could they have been prevented by a more vigilant set of policies and procedures to protect children in the library? If so, are they a result of lax enforcement of already existing policies and procedures regarding children? As a board, your highest calling in this community is to ensure the safety and innocence of the child patrons. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. I will email these questions to you, and I urge you to answer them and act immediately on your findings. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. Up next is Mary Jensen, and then Crystal Taylor is after that.
I don't have anything prepared. This was a last minute decision as we were waiting to sign up. I noted that people got here very early to sign up because speakers have been limited last time. And thank you for adjusting the time tonight. I really do appreciate that. But last time it was 3 minutes and it was very limited. Tonight, it was shortened from 3 minutes, but it's frustrating. I mean, we shouldn't have to get here so early to be heard. If it could be more random, there's other ways to select speakers than having to get here so early to be heard. I know the agenda says that we're supposed to adjourn at 7:45. I think it's more important to hear people from the community than at a specific time. I think with the previous president, it was easier to be heard. I think we were told that you were limiting it to 10 people. I just think there needs to be a better way, maybe look at best practices. I also just saw a letter that was put out to patrons, stakeholders, and taxpayers. The word "I" was used many times. I'm wondering if this was from the entire board. Anyway, it just seems that there's some changes that have happened that don't appear to be from the entire board or something that was voted on. I'd like to see processes and procedures to be voted on by the entire board, not just laterally decided on. I've noticed some definitions added to the policies and procedures that just suddenly appeared that I think, again, were just inserted. Who knows where they came from? It just seems like things are just happening, statements being made, procedures aren't being followed. I find that concerning. Thanks.
Thank you. Crystal Taylor and Holly Beavers on deck.
My name is Crystal Taylor and I'm a resident of Noblesville. I'm asking the board today to have a vote to remove the sections of the collection policy that have been paused for months now. A policy that has clearly not worked as intended and has taken time, resources, and money to implement. Adding in listening sections that will then cost more library resources when it's clear this policy has not worked. A policy that has taken away agency from parents, children, teens, and patrons as a whole. A policy that has time after time put adolescent material right next to adult material. A policy that has placed age-appropriate romance books next to adult smut books. A policy that has placed age-appropriate children's sex ed books next to adult sex ed books. A policy that has forced children, teens, and their caregivers into the adult stacks where it is far easier to be exposed to illicit material. As an active member of this library, this is actually my 4th visit to a HEPL branch this week alone. We are what you call active patrons of the library. My children and staff and I are easily recognized by library staff. That staff I entrust have the best interests at heart for my family. Staff that I know are highly qualified to shelf books in the manner set by library science standards. Staff, I hope, will be able to have their time fully back on the jobs and tasks they were hired for and not for moving books just because a small minority don't agree with them. Staff that I don't expect to parent my children for me, and instead I take the responsibility to find materials appropriate for my children.
Thank you. Holly Beaver and Kara. Then Kara H is after you.
I'm Holly Beaver and I've lived in Noblesville for over 45 years. I'm a retired librarian. But I just want to encourage you to vote this evening on the collection policy that has been on the table. The one to delete, I think it's paragraph 5, appendix A and B of the collection policy. I don't think it's necessary to hold neighborhood meetings because I'm sure you've already had emails from the community about this issue. And I can tell you that county commissioners and the county council members have had a lot of emails about this issue. So, and you've already heard from hundreds of people. I mean, this room is usually packed. This is really small for tonight, but your rooms have been packed. In fact, some evenings there were 2 rooms that were packed. So I don't think they need neighborhood meetings. That would be another unnecessary expenditure. You have all the input and all the information already at your fingertips. So I urge you to move forward and vote this evening on the issue that's on the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Kara?
Wong.
I'm sorry, one more time. Wong. I'm so sorry. Thank you. And on deck is Clark Wyatt or Wyatt. 1733 Whirlpool Way or Whisper Way.
Gail?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I used my doctor's handwriting apparently.
Yes. Felt like I was gonna go get some scripts.
So, I'm Kara Zimmerman Wong. I'm a 18, 19-year resident of Fishers, a library patron, a physician in the community. And I just want to reiterate the teen zone does not and never has had obscene or pornographic materials. Using these terms to describe books, singular words or small portions of a book taken out of context is fear mongering, and it's an effort to undermine the value of books, education, and library. And it's frankly insulting to our library professionals. And I'm sure it has to be very hurtful, as you know, they've dedicated their lives of making the library a place that's good for everyone. And in that regard, the world and the whole of humanity, both currently and in the past, are just very vast and complex, and that includes our community, and everyone deserves to be seen and valued for their full and authentic self. They deserve to see their own reality and experience reflected in media. Not everyone will agree with that, and they can leave the books on the shelves. We want that complexity represented in our libraries through the books and the information. We want it to have all these perspectives. And if you don't agree with a certain perspective, don't read the book. I also wanted to say, I think there's some misinformation that there are only 40 people in the community who are concerned about the collection development policy. And I will say, we have a private Facebook group that we started earlier this year that has well over 600 people. We have a petition against the collection development policy, which has currently has more than 4,000 signatures on it. Although I need to work to remove the signatures of people who are from outside the community before I can actually show that. But it's a lot more than 40 people who are against this policy. And
Thank you so much.
Yeah, please send it.
So Gail, and then up after that is Brandon Boyd.
I'm Gail Ringwald. I am truly tired of talking about the book collection policy. This is a public library where all kinds of ideas for both adults, teens, and children are kept. It is a parent's responsibility to determine what their teens and children read and what they themselves read. It is a parent's job to determine what discussions they have with their children about those books. No one forces anyone to take a book out of a public library. It is as easy as putting a book back on the shelf.
Oh, thank you. Brandon, and then Lori Lynn is next. Lori Lynn Price.
Hi, my name is Brandon Boyd. I'm from Noblesville. First thing I would mention is I've heard a lot of stuff about, if you don't like the book, keep it on the shelf. Suggestion that I have is if we could have some kind of content warnings for books that contain sexual material or violence, just some kind of warnings that parents could have, because a lot of the books don't necessarily have content warnings on them. I'm going to read you a passage from a book that's in the teen section that doesn't have any warnings on it. K1, said Slade as we jogged. You got to hook me up with that girl. Which one? I asked, although I knew he meant Danielle. I've been his hands for nearly a week when he cut to the chase, no longer able to contain himself. The one with those sweet ass chest puppies that sit up and bark at me and come out in your chemistry class. The slutty one, the one with the hair. Even if statutory rape laws didn't exist, freshman girls shouldn't date senior guys. It's a bad situation, mostly because the two parties don't want the same thing at all. And I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to the next part here, between two freshmen talking, a guy and a girl who are 14. Stupidly, I believe that this would be shocking enough that Danielle would shy away from the word van. What does he want to do to me in the back of his van? She said slyly. Suddenly I was on my heels. I couldn't remember. He wants you to suck his, I raised my eyebrows twice and did the hand thing. Instead of a look of horror crossing her face as I had expected, Danielle smiled. What else does he want to do? You know, he said that he wants to tie you up in the back of his van and have sex with you, and he wants to keep you there and have sex with you anytime he wants. You'll be like his hostage? Sold, said Danielle. I could see her getting physically aroused by by the simple description of what Slade wanted to do to her. He's so bad, she said in low growl, her eyes sparkling alive. What else did he say he wants to do to me? Thank you.
Lori Lynn Price, and then up next is Tish Biggs.
That was high school runner, by the way.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm here along with many others who say, please vote tonight to permanently rescind the portion of the policy. As Michelle pointed out, either last meeting and the meeting before, the rest of the policy is actually, the rest of the policy is really nice. But please rescind, please vote tonight. It's empty not the time to end this one way or the other. Also, I wanted to say no to the listening sessions or neighborhood groups or whatever they're being called now. You've had many months of people like me and like Brandon who spoke before me. These are really great listening sessions right here. There's no need to spend a whole lot of money and time to find out what you already know by listening to the people there. And I didn't see this on the agenda, but I'm not sure it's off the table. So I especially want to say no to taxpayers who pay for PR. The library does not have a PR policy, and an article in the News Star that came out today, it talks about how the library is flourishing. Every time I come to this library or Fisher's library, there's so many good things going on with lots of people. But who does have a problem with PR is the library board, brought on by this policy and also by actions of some members of the board. So I don't want my tax money or any other taxpayers' money to fix the problem from the board, but it's not a problem in the library. One way to repair the PR is actually to rescind the policy, which is the cause of much of the poor PR. So I just want again to say please vote tonight. It's time. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Tish Biggs, and up next is Lynn Gooden.
Hi, I'm Tish Biggs. Some people call me Dr. Biggs because I have a PhD in instructional technology. I'm a Fishers resident, a parent, a grandparent, an educator, and a former elected official. With most policies, you have three considerations when you have a policy: the timing, the cost, and the effectiveness. So you get to choose, hopefully, three of those the right way. So the timing can be fast or slow. The cost can be expensive or cheap. The effectiveness can be well done or not so well done. Right now, we have no policy. Policy is on hold. So right now, it's slow, expensive, and not so good effectively. We can revert to the old policy, which would be fast, cheap, and maybe shoddy, we don't know. Or we can adopt a new policy, which would be slow, expensive, and we don't know the quality of that. Or finally, the fourth and most obvious choice is we can revert to the old policy, remove Appendix A and B on pages 3 and 4, which has already been proposed to this board. And then everybody can revert to their corners, decide whether or not they like this policy, and then the board can work incrementally to adjust the policy so that the community is served. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Gooden, and after Lynn is Marianne Presick. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lynn Gooden. I am a Fishers resident, and I'd like to direct my comments to the board and to Dr. Wong, who thinks there are no lewd materials in the children's section of HEPL. If a parent wants to help an 11-year-old get hold of this book, I'm perfectly okay with the parent doing that. Or if the parent wants to check this book out for the 11-year-old, that's perfectly okay with me too. However, I don't really want this book to be front and center for my 11-year-old granddaughter when she comes into the library. You know, if anything, I want her to have to work to find it. This is an excerpt from Red Hood, which is a book that's been under consideration to be moved from the children's section, preteen section, whatever you want to call it, to the adult section. His nose brushing your right nipple, his lips capturing it, his tongue circling, his teeth skimming and biting, not hard, just enough to make your hands tighten into fists and clench the blanket, enough to make your legs begin to quiver. How much you want him to put his mouth on you, there, right there, at the crux of you, a hand on each of your thighs, his head buried between them, and he's not teasing you. His tongue and lips press into you as his fingers pull you apart, as you come undone beneath his hands, the hot, firm pressure of his tongue against your center, the insistence of his hands on your thighs, the building wonder of your pleasure rising. Oh, that is not familiar. That is brand new. You gush. That is the word, the only word. You gush as pleasure becomes too much to survive, and it bursts like a shaken up can of soda. It tickles and it burns and it ripples from your center outward, impulses of sensation so intense you are pinned by them. Half hand wrapped around his erection, you lean up to kiss him, his dark flat chest. The tight black curls of his pubic hair surrounding his erection. It's wet tipped and urgent, and you stroke it with your fingers. You kneel over him, letting your hair hide your face as you reach between your bodies. Find his penis and guide it toward the entrance of your vagina. You lower yourself onto him, his hands.
Thank you.
On your hips.
Thank you. Next book is Marianne, oh, Red Hood. Next book is Marianne.
Members of the board, Pedro, thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate your time. So I think the biggest thing for me is I'm tired of coming here every single month. And I'm not going to stop though. I'm going to continue to come here every single month. It is the rights of people to read what they want to read. And like others have said in this room, pass by it. Secondly, people need to actually parent their children instead of being their bud, their friend, etc. If I don't want my child to read the book, then I'm going to remove it from them. However, I also had children that were in advanced classes that read The Kite Runner, or some of you might have actually wanted your child to read The Kite Runner because it was in 8th grade, because she was in advanced classes. So what we have to look at here is this is a public library. This is not a church library. This is not a library that is for just one group. And the policy quite clearly says that the parents are responsible for what their children check out. I think that the board needs to look at one, taking care of the policy and reverting it back to where it was. If somebody doesn't want to read the book, like Red Hood that was just read to us, then put in something in a piece of paper, say that you've read the book, hopefully you actually are telling the truth, and say you'd like this looked at by the librarians. Go back to the old policy. Why are we moving thousands of books when there's only a handful of books that are probably the issue? Certainly, Mr. John Green's book should not have been moved. And if somebody disagrees with me, that's fine. That's their own opinion. But I don't believe that it should have been moved. We've asked several times for you guys to revert the policy back. It should be done tonight. Are we waiting until after we see what the election results are and who's going to be where? Are we going to wait till after we get a new member of the board now that Dr. Madelon stepped down? This is all silliness and it's all stalling. And quite honestly, the community is tired of the stalling of this board. This board is not moving in the direction it needs to be. Oh, we're going to have listening sessions. I don't think any of those listening sessions are actually on the books yet. So again, 2 months and we still don't have a listening session. We need to move. We need to take the policy and fix it. We need to put it back to where it was. Let people write the things that they're saying. They're upset.
Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you so much. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. I will accept a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
During discussion. All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. I'll accept the motion for approval of claims and warrants so we can move to discussion. I'll move to replace them.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussions? Oh, as the treasurer, was there anything that?
No, there's, our bookkeepers are very busy and all of the divisions, I think to the point you heard in the public comment, a lot of good things going on, a lot of money moving out and through and good money being spent for good things here in the library. So it's an interesting task to know what the CFO, hopefully hire one soon. I don't want to do that too many more months. Any questions I had, Andrew and I talked about it, it made all sorts of sense.
All right. All in favor of approval of the claims and warrants, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept approval for the 2024 library budget as presented.
So moved. Seconded.
Are there any questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor of approval of the 2024 library budget, say aye. Aye. Any approved? I'm sorry, any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Board committees. Oh. Moving on to board committees. Here we go. So we do have a new vacancy on the board. So there is the opportunity for some folks to be on some committees, and I'm super excited. Let's see, Andre, I'd like to move you to long range planning. Bill, I'd like to put you on the nominating committee. And the slot on buildings and grounds, I would like to hold that open until we get a new member. Hopefully we can get somebody with project management experience in there. And we can discuss this a little bit more under new business, but I do think that I'd like to stand up an ad hoc policy committee. I know it's in the bylaws that it needs to be done in October, but I think that might be helpful. I wish we had legal counsel, but
I don't think that there's a timeline on when you can add a new committee.
Okay.
And you can add a standing committee at any time with a majority vote of the board, according to the bylaws.
Fantastic. And we can come back to it during new business, but I just want to put that out there. I know that there's a lot of policies and procedures that we have that could stand to be reviewed, edited, updated, and then maybe some holes and some gaps that we have. And I think part of it will go with like legal counsel because we'll need some of their support there.
Typically, we do a legal counsel review for any liability that language might have, and to ensure alignment with state law.
Okay, fantastic. So we can go ahead.
If I may add one thing on the committees, I'll throw this out there. I don't know how other people feel about it. I know I'm presently the chair of the finance committee. I was put as the chair because I was in Andre's position. I'm happy to keep serving, but if you want to switch things around so Andre can take that role,
So do you want to switch?
That makes sense.
And do you want to be on long range planning?
That's fine with me.
Fantastic.
So yeah, you guys, I'm not trying to get out, but
that makes sense.
You'll have a unique perspective, right, Andre?
And then with nominating, so Micah was the only one left from nominating and now Bill, so we need a third. Is that right?
Yeah, I was going to be on that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's see, and that goes, let's Craig on long range. Fantastic.
Tiffany, can you send that to me so I can get the document updated? Sure. Or you can hand it to me. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
In standing up the policy committee, if you already identified individuals you plan to add to that committee?
No, I have not. Let's see. No, I'm not. Let people kind of self-nominate.
It'll be fun.
I know. Sounds like something that you'd want lawyers to do. Sounds like fun. Okay, moving on to the project update, Mr. McCurdy.
Is Kevin here? No, Greg's here. Greg is pinch hitting for Kevin.
Fantastic, thank you.
I am shorter, heavier set architect, you know, so.
You're gonna.
Nick, how are you today?
Great.
Great. Start the report, there's a couple things to put in the board packet. One is the written report, and we also have the change order report. I will say that as far as change order reports go, both the phase one contractors, W.R. Duncan, our Turner, really did have a lot of changes that occurred in the past 30 days or so. So I should probably concentrate on Ferguson's report. Ferguson had a couple things that came out during the last 30 days. At Fisher's Library, we kind of resolved some issues with the children's area with regard to the center ceiling area. We actually asked for credit back for the work that we weren't going to do in that area where the tree sculptures could be placed. There's also some additional pending changes that we're going to be doing in the program room. It's going to include replacement of the entry doorways into each of the program rooms to kind of widen those out into a pair of doors in the center and a couple standard entrances on either side. We also have some additional electrical and data outlets we're putting in the staff area for the children's area as well. We relocated furniture, put it back in place. We actually relocated some of the desks, so we need to add that in the next couple of weeks. Ferguson, when it comes to Noblesville, we had a couple things come up. One, we issued a change order that actually was a follow-up to alternate bids we had and didn't accept at the time we did. And those had to do with restroom renovations in buildings. We've got several restrooms that are all the public restrooms in the building, and we're actually going to do full renovations of them now. That's under Ferguson's work. We do not know yet how long Ferguson's going to take to do that work. They owe us a timeline for that, but I would guess it's going to go into the early spring, maybe late spring next year. So.
Now, is that substantial completion?
Not quite.
All those of you that in the meetings know that was correct.
Oh, yes, right. No, I think when it comes to the board report, there's a couple additional things I noticed today. It's been about 2 weeks since I've been on site, and we have a few updates to make. So I'm just kind of hit those highlights. When it comes to the change orders at the program room, I mentioned the change out in the doors. At Fisher's, we're looking at the work that's been done since last time inside the masonry screen walls in the exterior. We actually painted the exterior or the actually block side of the wall, which is actually concealed for the most part. One of the things in the phase 1B construction on the south side that was holding up was the sidewalk along Municipal Drive. One of the things there was an AT&T box that was holding up placement of the concrete. That's all been resolved. The concrete walk is being put in. We also resolved a couple of lighting issues out there along that. So all of that will be resolved by the end of this week. So that's good news. When it comes to the phase 1B interior work, one of the things that is doing is going to hold up potentially the work in phase 2 that Ferguson is doing in that area in the lobby, as far as finishes, all of that. We found out today that RL Turner will actually be about 2.5 weeks before they can take down that barrier wall and open up that whole area. They'll have it cleaned up by then and all the final finishes in place. One of the things that's going to be occurring next week that wasn't in this agenda is actually placement of the site signage. That's actually large monument signs in front of the buildings. Foundations will go in starting Monday, be completed by the end of the week, maybe early the following week. And the actual site signs will be placed probably sometime in late November. That's being fabricated at this time. Kind of on Noblesville, kind of look at a couple things. We actually went through a process the last month and a half getting signage permits. We actually have those now. So that allowed the sign companies to place the work in the next couple of months. Met today on one of the things we talked about with W.R. Duncan today. They have some lingering issues that still need to be resolved. still have no panels. We have some gutter issues. They're aware of it and they're in the process of fixing it now. When we looked at the mechanical yard area, one of the outstanding items there was the mechanical fence that's been on this list for a couple of months now. That has been resolved. They're going to be out here next week to start doing the final enclosure of that fence for the decorative fence that surrounds it. So I think that's not all I had as far as updates to the board update. Do you have any questions on anything?
When do you anticipate completion?
Which project? Well, Arnold Turner's phase one, we're actually looking at some time in, as far as opening up the project and being able to utilize that south entrance, we're looking at probably the first week in December. So there's still gonna be some lingering things going on. We still have our tiles to install, the sculpture to install, things like that, but nothing that would prevent you from actually utilizing that entrance. One of the things tied into that, I mentioned Ferguson is actually doing the interior finishes, carpet, paint, and the main lobby. That'll take a few weeks to complete. That'll probably be completed by the end of the year. So there'll probably be some work going on in off hours, like 6 to 9 in the morning in those areas with lifts and people working, but they've been pretty seamless in the way they've handled things throughout the construction. W.R. Duncan is still working through punch list items, like I said, at here at Noblesville, and they're getting fairly close. I think the holdup is probably some of the metal panels and the exterior work that's been taking some time to complete. So I think as far as the phase 2 work at Fisher's Noblesville by Ferguson, I think it's in pretty good shape. Had a little bit of holdup in the second floor with regard to the CRDC area where we've got a lot of coordination work with electrical, mechanical, and with Solomon. It's all been resolved now. We issued a bulletin today that actually coordinated all the electrical work between Solomon, our engineers, and the electrician. It's actually doing the work. So they have all that in hand, guided and move forward. So I think we're looking at that work being completed probably in December for the second floor areas. The administration area and all the renovation for finishes and all that would occur probably in January, sometime mid-January, and probably completion of all of the works probably to be somewhere in April. Like I said, depending on what the restroom work would be, that's still going to go on probably past April, I would guess. We've got more materials to get geared up for that work, but it's going to be carried into probably late spring, early summer. So
Early summer?
Well, I think it may. So
Okay.
May, yeah.
Well, last month it was in April, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't know about it's the restroom work that you're
Okay.
kind of holding up. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the board president report. This was actually the document that was added online. It's actually from the board president. It's not from the entire board. It's actually from the board president. That's why it has the has I in it, and then it's signed at the bottom. And that's important because we did complete a day of training. Just to let everybody know, we had a day of training. We worked on understanding roles and responsibilities of board members. We had open door law training and being able to understand when we speak as a board and our processes for making sure that there are responses that we write and that we're working as a board. So that's definitely something that we're working on. This document, the board president report, is from me, the board president. We work with the public access counselor and we talk about public comments and making sure that this is a safe space. That's why we're asking for the highest and best decorum when we do have public comments, and then also adjusting that time, doing what we can to keep it limited to 30 minutes, but expanding it to as many speakers as possible. We talked about that. And then also in the board, in my report, you'll see the math there, just making sure that we keep it to 30 minutes with a maximum 3 minutes per person. And then just also talking about this being a very safe space. I think we did a really good job during public comments today, so thank you so much. One of the things we talked about was really being able to hear people. And when we can keep a lot of emotion out of the public comments, it's so much easier to hear people and appreciate their comments. So thank you for that. Let's see. And then I talked a little bit about wanting to do the ad hoc committee to look at our policies, just to make sure that we're doing everything that we can and updating them as needed. We do have a vacant seat on the board. Anyone who's interested in joining the board should apply via the county commissioners. It's important to note that 5 of the 6 current members live in Noblesville. The average age is less than 50. I think I might be the oldest person here.
But you look the youngest.
Well, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. I don't know. I'm actually 50. So, okay. All right.
We're
So,
tied.
yeah, we're tied. So the average age is a little bit less than 50. And we only have 2 women on the board. We have no retirees. Candidates should be, I think it would be great if candidates would highlight successful experiences working with teams. Project management experience would be great. That's why we're holding open that spot on the Building and Grounds Committee. We, of course, have no say over who gets appointed to the board. It's solely done by the county commissioners. Compliance with rules and laws is of the utmost importance to our library board. We are currently without legal counsel and lucky to have 2 attorneys on the board with us who do not give us legal advice, but they're able to process information in a helpful manner as we navigate this time without counsel. We are moving forward with gaining information on listening sessions. If you looked in the board packet that was online, there's a proposal out there. I'm disappointed that we didn't have a second proposal, but we did reach out to another facilitator to get some information from her. Veterans Day weekend is coming up. That's very important to me. And then finally, I just wanted to answer the question about the cost of the audit of the teen fiction section. And in the FAQ document that we had on the board packet last time, there was some information out there about the cost. And with the people hired and the work that was done, it was a little less than about $30,000. So far below what was estimated. And as I've always said, we're at the intersection of library science and community standards. Moving forward, one of the things that we all agreed on as a board is that we want it to become a more strategic planning board and just leveraging our strengths to be compliant, to be strategic, with better communication and focused on library innovation. That was what came out, the majority of what came out of our time together. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, and it's posted online. If anybody has any questions, more than happy to chat with you about it. So that's the board president's report. Moving on to the
Can I make several comments?
Sure, of course.
Questions about that? This. So number 5, the vacant seat. Do we have updates from the commissioners about their timing? Has anyone heard anything?
Have you heard anything, Fred? That's your opinion.
No, I looked at their calendar. They most recently met, I think, this Monday, and obviously they did not make an appointment. I think they meet twice per month. So I'll check their feature agendas to see if I see that on the calendar.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic.
It'd be nice to have if they could provide an update on timing.
Okay.
Do you know if they're still accepting nominees?
No, I could reach out to them.
Yeah.
We're looking for when we might see a appointment and whether they're still accepting the nominations or not. I don't know, but I can reach out.
That'd be fantastic.
Helpful.
I'll do that.
And then just with number 9, the cost of the audit. Just a couple of things that may or may not be obvious, but of course we paused it. So that, the original estimate was based on completing the project. So we did pause it. So the full cost, if we were to continue, is not reflected here. And then this also does not include legal fees. Right?
I don't know if that was wrapped into.
I believe that 30,000 number is simply the hourly rate times the number of hours we had hired people for. There's a different number in the FAQ, I think.
Okay, there's 2 numbers. There's the cost of hiring folks.
Right, and then
the cost of staff.
Existing, staff time.
Yeah, I don't think that legal fees were added with that.
Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to point out that it doesn't include that. So, thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to our director's report.
Okay. Are there questions or comments on anything in the director's reports? I would like to update you a little bit on the outreach vehicle. It is delayed due to model year differences between the 2023 model that we were originally basing our plans around, and then the changes to the 2024 model. Added some things, took away some things. So some of our absolute must-haves are no longer included in the base vehicle that's available. So that's going to delay that by a few months. It's still the timeline is still far shorter than any of the other vendors. But our consultant and Brad have been working with the vendor to make sure that we're still getting everything that we want in the pricing that we agreed to. It's just
Do you
gonna take
anticipate
longer.
an increase in price?
No, we anticipate the price staying the same.
Okay, as long as he's happy with the trend yet.
Yeah, and I'll let you know if that changes.
I did want to make some comments from the report. There's some obviously major projects we've talked about in this meeting with the CRDC, the website, and strategic planning. And all of those seem to be moving along smoothly and swiftly. And so I'm excited to see those things come together. It kind of feels like they're all going to come together at once.
It is kind of all hitting right at the end of the year.
Right. And as head of the strategic planning committee, I'm most excited just to dig into that and some of the findings. And I know we need to get a meeting on the books of that group.
Yeah, now that we have a full committee, we'll get that going.
So maybe we can do one of the, what do you call it?
Yeah, like a calendar availability.
Right. So we can sit down and start looking.
The quicker the better. We really want to get your feedback on the strategic direction so that before we spend a lot of time digging into that and coming up with the concrete measurable ways we're going to show progress, we need to make sure that the committee is on board and the board is on board with those strategic priorities.
Because it ties right into the fact that we did speak about education and long-term strategic thinking more from this group.
Right.
And so, yes, if we can sit down and look through some of those recommendations and initial findings, let's get that done soon. And then I also wanted to mention, I know you had your staff day on October 6th.
Yes.
And that the focus was mental health. So
yes.
So thank you for planning that for staff. And
John Chamika and Brad Howell are the leads on that. Brad is our staff engagement person, and John, of course, is our HR manager. And they did a great job, thinking, being thoughtful about what the day looked like, and combining activity with sitting and listening, and making it a very rejuvenating day, I think, for the whole staff. It was very positive. Thank you for asking about it.
yes.
So Bill, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, just touching my head.
I know that we're not doing, we didn't have an employee spotlight. Is there anything that wants to highlight?
One of the things that we were thinking about doing is to give you guys like a preview of what we're coming into, which is our season of giving, which is what we designate November and December for. So be watching for those. We do like a 2-month-long focus and just have all kinds of programs on different topics that kind of feed into that. In November, our focus is on a letter writing campaign to support veterans and first responders. So that's going on November 1 through 30 at both libraries. We're also partnering with the city of Fishers. They're doing a letter writing campaign too. So we're going to have their little post box in our lobby by the big cone. So those things are coming up. We do plan to continue for meetings having that service spotlight as part of my director's report, rather than maybe the staff spotlight that we were doing before. People are more comfortable talking about what they do than about themselves. So it seems to be a good fit, but thank you for asking.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thanks. I know that it takes quite a bit to put together the 40 pages or so. So thank you for that. We appreciate it. Okay, moving on to old business. And to note, we are 15 minutes ahead of schedule. So there we go. First up is listening sessions. In the board packet, everybody should have seen what the proposal that was that we obtained? Do you want to remember that?
So the questions that were answered at the last board meeting were questions from this group of facilitators. They were the only ones who, after conversation with them, thought they had the availability and capacity to do the work, which is why we only talked to one group. But we have Tiffany sent us another person, and I sent them the same document. So the listening sessions, kind of as imagined, are very in-depth, and there's a lot of methodology to determining that we get a representative sample of the community and to pull that information in. I would like to point out also that we do have, we do an annual patron satisfaction survey, which is actually rolling out this coming month. We've been doing that now. I think this is the 5th annual one, so that we have that data we can compare year to year. The last survey we did, we had a really good response and saw, like a 90% plus satisfaction with every element of the library. We also did 2 focus groups for strategic planning, where people were able to weigh in on the library and the future of the library. And that did include, questions about, we just left it kind of open. We also had over 3,000 respondents to our strategic planning survey and got a lot of comments and input there that can be useful in this process as well. So all of that is stuff that we're already doing, and then this would be layered on top of that. But this is, as you guys discussed last month, very specific to one topic. And I think the proposal reflects sorry, my watch is not continuing, reflects the complexity and the time involved in doing those listening sessions as imagined. So I really don't have anything to add.
Is this the same company who did the strategic plan?
It is not.
I mean, would they be able to bid or give
this is not work that Garrett does. This is a very unique kind of input that is a little bit different than a focus group specifically related to a strategic plan. Garrett does not do this kind of in-depth work. Is he cool? And especially as described by the board at the last meeting, it's a very, very specific, but this is not something that he's interested in or available to do.
And you said you sent the information to the fund that Tiffany referred to.
Yes.
Have you heard back from them?
That was just a couple days ago.
Couple days.
Yeah.
Can I ask, you mentioned the patron survey.
Yes.
And I know I'm trying to find these dates in the president's report. Can you remind me the dates that we're conducting that survey? Is it?
I don't know. It's coming up it's usually the first week in November, the 6th through the 19th.
And who do we work with to roll that out?
We do it in-house.
We do it in-house.
So yes, we use SurveyMonkey, and we developed the questions 5 years ago. And our whole purpose was to have that longitudinal data to hear from our patrons.
And usually in terms of numbers, you receive,
I think last year we had over 800? 634. We had 634 last year, and every year we've gotten more responses. The response to our strategic planning survey over the summer was unprecedented in responses to surveys that we get.
Sort of 3,000 from the strategic planning.
Yeah.
So 634 responses. And how do we put that out? I know through library communication.
Social media, we put it on our self-check machines, links to it. We have paper surveys available in the building. We said it is included in our library newsletters. We push it out to our community partners to see if they'll share it with their groups as well.
So the reason I'm asking all these questions about that, if we want to ask questions of the public about the collection development policy, it seems it would be far more economical and efficient to perhaps include them in a patron survey.
We could add a question. I mean, we have in the past had a one-off question on our surveys, and we could certainly do that again. I think what I heard last month, though, was a desire for a much more in-depth kind of feedback very much focused on leading a conversation with groups and getting some additional level of feedback. And that's not what we would get with a survey.
Right.
But to Michelle's point, could we do our own survey? Could we like work and come up with some questions and do our own survey? Just independent of yours, so that it doesn't like water down the results or taint it.
I think the challenge would be survey fatigue, because we've already had the strategic planning survey this year, and this longitudinal survey that we do every fall is very important to us from a tracking year over year standpoint. But there is no reason that we could not issue a separate survey.
I will say,
have the
and
tools.
not any spoilers here, but I saw the initial report on the strategic planning.
Yeah, I sent that to you.
Because we're on, I think those of us on the committee, which right now it's Tiffany and myself. And now who is it? Craig?
I joined the party.
You joined the party
I'll
tonight.
send that tonight, Craig.
Yeah, so no spoilers here, but there was quite a bit of content reflected in that survey that is relevant to the policy. I would go ahead and say on record that I think $45,000 to conduct these sessions is too much. I'm not convinced we need the sessions. And I know we're seeking additional quotes, however, to do it the right way, the way that some have said they want it done, that's probably the price.
I expected it to be tens of thousands of dollars as defined last month. I was not surprised by the amount. Maybe a little high, but I thought it would be at least $20,000 to do that many listening sessions.
I think it would be nice to have a second one to compare.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't,
No, I don't think there's any negative to that.
Yeah, but I do like the idea. I don't know if we could get there with a separate survey. Do you think this company would have a phone call with us?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, if we want to know more about what exactly it is they're doing. And also the part of the proposal is working with the board and the staff to develop the questions, to develop exactly what it is we're asking. So that's part of the whole process and part of the cost is that entire development of the methodology and the questions.
Yeah, that was the first time. Maybe we could push that on the survey.
Well, if the survey's coming November 6th, that's, it's a quick turn to determine what we want to ask. And like you said,
I mean, we could add a couple of questions, but I don't have in my mind an articulation of what the question would be.
right. Nor do I don't
So
think it must do. I don't think this group does.
Unless we just did an open-ended, tell us what you think, but we've had that, so I don't.
Yeah, I think we'd have some specific questions in mind, some kind of threshold issue.
But we do have that tool. We do have the Survey Monkey tool, and we have the communication channels to get it out like we did the strategic planning survey. And it seems like this might be something that people would be motivated to respond to perhaps.
However, if we're going to meet as a strategic planning committee ASAP, we can start digging into some of those findings that are relevant, that I think are going to provide great perspective on this issue.
Is he going to give us more than what was in the executive survey? I mean, is he going to double click on some of it?
We have the raw data. If you want to see some more of that, I mean, it's available.
It would be nice if you said he's not available or interested in doing that, but it would be great since he collected so much information
to see what like maybe answer some questions that you have perhaps based on that.
No, if he could just kind of take us through like just a double click on something because he's done so much.
There's a lot in the executive summary that really shines a light on a lot of the survey responses, but we have the data package as well. So, yeah, I mean, if you have questions for him about specific elements of it, I'm sure that he's pretty familiar with the data. So
does it make sense to, since we're talking about this, to provide that summary to the full board?
Yeah, I can do that.
I think it would be helpful to everyone to see that. And of course, we'll meet in the committee and take a deep dive into it before we discuss it as a board, but I think it would be helpful just in the context of this conversation to see.
I do think, to your point, and Tiffany, you probably looked at the data too, I do think because of the timing of the strategic planning survey, there were a lot of responses that were specifically related to, because we sent it out in the summer, to what was happening at the time. So there is data in there that, to your point, I think is relevant.
Yeah, it's a lot of feelings, not a lot of necessarily like solutions, ideas.
Well, and again, as I've said before, I think that when we talk about writing policy, you don't go to the public to write law. You don't go to the public to write policy. You hear from them what they want, and then you consult best practices and subject matter experts, and you as the representatives of the community then make those decisions and build these policies. So I think what, asking people to say, how do we fix this, I think was perhaps a little outside the scope of what you would ask someone, but I get your point that was not what those questions were targeting.
Yeah, and it's interesting about like how do you fix it, but everybody has an opinion. So, because it affects, patrons and taxpayers, and everybody has a lot of people. I mean, if you're paying taxes, you get skin in the game. So, yeah.
Well, I do want to note the public comments. I always take notes, and certain things stick with me, and the patron that just commented on number 1, timing, number 2, cost, number 3, effectiveness. That is really resonating with me when it comes to the collection development policy. So I would encourage, we dig into what we have versus paying for more. Those are my thoughts. And I would like to see us by the end of the year revisit the policy and make some decisions about it, so that we can start 2024 fresh, looking forward, being strategic and innovative, like most of us said in that room that day.
Yeah, I would second that. I don't think we can let this fester for too much long. Even just in the comments today, people are looking for some action and some accountability from the board on us.
I love that you're saying that. I think also when it comes to accountability and information, definitely the teen advisory board needs to give us some information. So, I mean, that's a group that has had no comment. So I think that would be really helpful too.
We did a focus group with them on the strategic plan. That could have some information, but also if you have specific questions, we can figure out what you might want to ask.
But over these last 10 months, they've not really offered anything about it.
We don't typically bring up board matters with the teen advisory board. They're mostly focused on teen services.
Sure. But they've not said anything about like the collection or moving books, relocating books.
I'm not in those meetings either. The teen advisory board's focus is on, weighing in on teen services, and they may have an opinion on the collection. We can certainly find out, but we've tried to make that activity something that is for the teens, and not us going to them and saying, we want you to tell us this.
Sure. But nothing in terms of like, I can't find books, or how do I help my friends, or no feedback. Or
I don't go to those meetings either. They're not for me either. So, but like I said, if we want to get some general themes from the teen librarians who do work with the teen advisory board, I'm sure we can get a report from them on if they're getting on what they're hearing regarding collections from the teen advisory.
So next month we could have that as a planned agenda.
Yeah, we can do that, or just include it in the report.
Yes,
that'd be really good.
So I would say we take November doing our discovery, learning, digging into what we have, hearing from the teen board, and the December meeting, we make sure we vote on this policy and have a resolution. That's what I suggest.
Sounds good. It sounds like, but with the executive summary, we do have more information. So that was really nice to get.
Yeah, it's got quite a bit in it. It gets into pretty major detail. So I'll send that to everyone.
Thank you. Anything else under old business anyone would like to talk about? So, I'm sorry, we have legal counsel to discuss.
I included in the board materials the proposal from Creek Development. And then there was a local fisheries attorney that was suggested by Barnes and Thornburg. And I did speak with him about his experience with local government, and it's not a lot. It's not none, but it's not a lot. A nice guy, but, one of the options that Creed Devault offered was an hourly option. And that would be like estimating like 30 hours a year, and they would attend our meetings if we wanted them to, so. And everyone that met them liked them too, and felt good about them, but Creed Devault.
Yeah, I can say looking at, I know who's in play now. We've got Taft, we've got Creed DeVault, Smid. I've got opinions there. And what else? Unfortunately, Church Hill didn't. I guess
they declined.
Yeah. I'm disappointed by our lack of options, I would say, from the ones we've had. If we're looking for someone on a more permanent basis, I guess I err towards Creed. But that being said, that's almost by process of elimination. I've had good experience with the firm. I've not dealt with any of those particular lawyers specifically, which I can say I had good experience with Barnes too. Didn't have experience with those two lawyers, and did not have good experience dealing with those two lawyers. So I'm a bit at a loss.
We can also, if you guys choose to go with one of these attorneys who has still said they're interested, it doesn't have to be forever, right? This can be a something that's revisited in a period of months. We're not committing to forever with anybody here.
I think as we look forward to maybe like the next 6 months and being strategic, maybe having Creed Devault will get us where we need to be, looking at our policies and things that we have, things that we don't have, and industry standards. I think they might be able to get us where we want to be in the next 6 months, and then kind of reevaluate.
So the first big question is, what do we want?
7:27.
We got one extreme, had very active attorneys who are at every meeting. Lately, we've been kind of going on an ad hoc basis. As a board, do we want an attorney here at every meeting, like Barnes was, or are we looking for more of a case-by-case basis retainer, like we've done with Mike Cavosi with the construction matters? Because I
think more case by case, kind of based on the agenda and what we have going on. I think we still need to. Do we need to finalize our bylaws, or do we just need to get the?
I need the final draft from Mark.
Yeah,
I just have had no luck getting it. The one that we have, the final draft that was approved in May, is non-substantive. The changes, it's case alignment and that kind of stuff. So I think that. I can try again to get them, or we can just say we're sticking with the bad grammar and moving forward.
So, to your point, I think that we do pretty well without having an attorney there. And then if anything were to come up, we can always reach out to them.
Yes, I guess my suggestion would be identify what task we want them to do and then look for somebody for that task.
I see. Rather than having a general counsel.
Right.
I will say, I don't mind having representation here. We always had Ann attend the meetings. So as long as I've been on the board, we had a lawyer present, and there were many times I would ask Ann questions. I tried to ask the others questions, with not much success, but Ann was always very helpful at the meetings. So if we had a helpful lawyer, I think it would be helpful to have them at the meeting.
Maybe we send Ann a very large gift basket.
Ann is not going to go back. I guarantee it, but it's wouldn't hurt to ask her, but I think she has some words for us if we did.
No, but I don't know. My impression is our retreat on 16 helped us a lot of ways of how the 7 of us and future the 8 of us type putting effort in that, as you should be in these meetings. So I think we're more comfortable in the Robert's rules sort of things that need that immediate, hey, what do we need to do? How are we needing to actually accomplish this in an appropriate fashion during the course of the meeting? Because unfortunately, for everybody who's a patron who wants to see change, boards are not built to act react on things immediately. Things take time. This is part of government. Try working for local government and want to work for the state and things slow down by eightfold. It's kind of crazy, but and I absolutely hear you that it was always felt good having Ann here and being able to bounce ideas off her, especially since she had other library experience a long time with us. But I don't know that we need that general counsel at this point without burning questions that we need answered. You know, writing a check for 55 grand, you know, that get Krieg in here, SMID, if we were to make motions at this point to accept either of them, I think more likely along the lines, wait, Craig was talking to say yes to Krieg, but I also don't know that we need any of them here. And then I feel a little, I don't want to be once bitten, twice shy. And I feel kind of bitten at this point with having general counsel from the big firm.
Bill and Micah?
Sorry, my voice is going out on me, but I would absolutely agree with what Andre said. I think we're doing fine. It's nice to have counsel here, but I don't think we need it at this point. And I think we do the case by case, and if we need help, we can reach out. So I think that's certainly the right path.
Agreed.
So what I can do is try to find someone who will maybe work with us on policy, who maybe is willing to
experience
to do that.
Yes.
Okay. And I will say that typically the attorney role is not crafting the policy, but is in reviewing what we craft to make sure, again, it aligns with state law and that there's no like language in there that's going to cause liability. But I'll see coming at it from that direction what I might be able to find. And I did call Ann and asked her if she had any suggestions. She said she'd get back to me. She hasn't.
How long ago did you call them?
It's only been a couple of weeks. So.
I mean, if the cost of a Krieg, we get a very nice gift basket.
And to be fair, this is a very like specialized area of practice that there aren't a ton of expert attorneys because there's no money in it because it's local government. But so that is part of the challenge. Is there's not a lot of deep local government experience out there.
So it sounds like our decision is just go with people based on tasks and no counsel at meetings.
And I think maybe if we start there, we can develop a relationship and then move into that more close association, maybe.
We're in a date.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of Andre's point. I'm kind of shy at this point. I'd want to find someone I feel really good about before bringing them that close.
Okay. I think I got it. So, if you have anybody that you please send me their name and I'll call them. I promise that I have positive conversations with people. Of course, I'm not trying to scare them off. So.
All right. So we're all good. So fantastic. Moving on to new business. Oh, was there any other old business? Moving on to new business. I do want to talk just a little bit about the adding a policy committee. Kind of goes with where we just were. I think definitely having some. How would we work with legal counsel on? Would you just sit and draft and then give it to them to look at?
Yes.
Okay.
So prior to the last couple of years where our sole focus was collection and development policy, I have a policy review schedule that has different policies every month that I would bring and review with the board, and we would make small suggestions or large suggestions and have those approved by council prior to the meeting. So that is a structure that I would love to get back to, is making sure that our policies are and that you guys lay eyes on them and read them and understand them on a regular basis. So that already exists. I have a spreadsheet. But I think a policy committee, if we want to just have as a goal for the next year, like a full review of all the policy from A to Z, I think a policy committee could help with that to help keep board meetings efficient. Right, because I think it's a really good idea to have like a set group that sets aside specific time to talk about specific policies. Makes a lot of sense to me, rather than trying to do it all at board meetings.
And then that way, we don't end up in a situation where we try to do something and one, we haven't thought about it, and two, we don't have it in the paper and we try to and get into it.
And we do have the full complement of required and recommended policies that libraries in Indiana have to have. But it is something I think policy review gives everyone an opportunity, to your point, to understand them better and be able to identify if something is covered in the policy or if we need to develop new policy, areas of policy. That's something that committee can do. And the work happens at the committee, and then the board feels confident in that work and can then approve the policy without having to dig back into it, at every meeting. I think it's a good idea.
I think other government bodies have standing committees that do that kind of work.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think it's a good idea. Good on you.
And if it becomes a standing committee, then we have to change the bylaws.
I read the bylaws, and all it says is that to add a standing committee, you just have to vote to do it. I don't know that would require the full 2 months of work that a bylaws change takes. It was very strange to me the way the bylaws read. So,
do we want to just start with kind of a ad hoc right now and then move to standing?
Yeah, maybe we could start if we want to be careful with it, we could start as an ad hoc, and if we like it, then I guess maybe do the process to the bylaws.
Because either way, whether it's an ad hoc committee or standing committee, the same open door law applies.
Yeah.
It's still a public meeting. It's still, if there's a majority of the committee, they have to be in public, so it really.
And you have to post it 2 days in advance.
I do, yes.
Yep.
And that we post on the website, and so.
Fantastic.
And everything can be through community, so all the policies can be posted there and pulled down from there, so it'll be a bit more streamlined for the work of that group.
Which, since you brought up community, Greg and I were talking earlier, that has made reviewing the documents so much easier. As we
That's good to hear. It's a good product. It is from the same company that does board docs, but it is a much more up-to-date and streamlined version. So we like it quite a lot. So
I have bought into all the annotation.
there's so many features that it's going to take us a while to get into all of them, but
I want to thank you for printing the documents for me. I'm so 2022, but thank you for printing them for me. I appreciate it.
Hey, just one point of clarification on committees. So, we have 4 standing committees, right? So building grounds, finance, nominating, long range planning, and there's 3 members each. Is that right?
correct.
And, so then if we added a policy, we'd have 5 committees, 3 members each. That's 15 spots and 7 of us, or ideally, right now it's 6. But so ideally, we're all on 2 committees, right? I mean, one person has to be on 3. Right, to maintain, I just would like to make sure we maintain that balance. So it sounds like Bill's only on 1. So.
Policy committee, here you go.
Sorry, Bill. But no, I just want to make sure we're being,
Got it.
equitable across the board. We've got that balance. So thank you.
I think a counterpoint to that, though, is you put people where they're going to be best used. I'm not saying Bill wouldn't be good on policy. That's not the point of my statement. But to Craig's suggestion of putting me on finance, no, I'm assistant treasurer. I'm doing that job right now. It's a CFO thing. And so given that committee assignments is something the board president does.
And Tiffany mentioned holding the building and grounds committee for the new member.
Right. And see, if I have somebody that's going to have a critical path and those sorts of things.
We do have people that we employ that have that.
Oh, I understand. But having that perspective is helpful.
It does. Yep. We've always been lucky to have someone who's familiar with construction or some other element that has been on the board to provide that expertise.
This is on building and grounds.
Right now, it's Andre and Craig.
Yeah, if we could see with the additions, if we could get where we stand today with who is in what, that would be helpful for me. And everybody, I'm sure.
Sure. Definitely. I'll send this over to you.
Okay.
As I think about the policy committee, I would like to be on it. And then either Andre or Craig, just because of the way that you guys think. And then that does leave a third spot.
And I'll put you on 4 committees. I'm just gonna,
That's
so going back to that balance that I'm talking about, I think it's important that we have balance, and 4 seems a little heavy for 15 slots.
That is fine.
Out of 7 people.
Sure.
Right?
I will rebalance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to do that.
Okay. Maybe you can let go of just 1.
Yeah. I mean, Bill, finance committee, probably here you come. So,
That's a good
that was easy.
What a shame, right?
That was
that
easy.
one.
Yeah, that was easy. Your $100 for a taxpayer. Yeah, you're done. Work is done. And then we'll compare and then there's the third spot. You guys remember, so
And I think it is pretty time consuming, so it's gonna need to be if you've got
the capacity.
Yeah.
Sir, if we're trying to balance out, I don't know if 3 is too much, I'm willing to swap. I guess I've only been on the long range planning for 15 minutes, so.
You know, you gotta think about that new person, and that's, they're gonna need a couple.
So you want to wait until December to stand up the committee once we're probably full?
Maybe, so we're not.
Yeah, because I can also work on a schedule.
Sure. That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
I'll hold that to December.
Okay.
But, do I need to make a motion to get approval to have the committee? Do we all consent that it's a good thing?
By consensus.
I think so.
Fantastic.
We're not adding it to the bylaws yet. So we don't need a vote.
Fantastic. All right. If there's any other new business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Really?
To adjourn.
Okay.
So,